tonight we are going to do a brush inking tutorial. I do have some other ones on my blog, and so this is sort of like a half and half tutorial because I do want to show you guys how to ink so that you can use Copics over it, and that requires using an ink that is Copic proof. So rather than using the Kuretake Sumi ink number 60 that was sent in my Inktober Art Snacks box, I am using Kaimei, Kaimei, Drawing Soul K ink, and you can find this ink over on JetPins. I have not been able to find it elsewhere, otherwise I would provide you with links to there. And we are not using the very large number 4 Princeton Kolinsky Sable. This is it right here. That was sent in Art Snacks. We're going to go ahead and use a much smaller size 1 Creative Mark Rhapsody. That is my preferred inking brush. I may also use a size 0, which is a little bit smaller. We are, however, using the Denick notebook that was provided in the box. So this tutorial is a thank you. It's brought to you guys due to the generosity of my backers on Patreon, and it's part of my way of thanking them for their support this year. Since many of them did express an interest in learning how to ink with a brush, learning how to ink with a nib, I thought I would go to the trouble, take the time to make some tutorials as a thank you to them. So if you enjoy this tutorial and if you find it helpful, please head over to patreon.com/natosoup and consider joining the community and helping fund future content like this. So we've already prepared a sketch. We're doing my character Kara, and I've drawn this in pencil. We've got a cup of water. I know it looks dirty, but it's fine. We've got a paper towel. We've got a clean piece of paper. Now normally I would fill one of my little dinky dip cups with the ink, but I'm feeling kind of lazy today, so I guess I'm just not going to. We also have a scratch sheet of paper, and before you start inking, you do want to sort of squeegee off your excess ink, and you also want to do a few hand exercises to just sort of prepare yourself. Warm up your hand, warm up your wrist. Now I did just complete a bunch of drawing exercises, so I am fairly warmed up, but for best inking results, you really don't want to ink before doing some form of warm up, and you also don't want to put your inking off until the end of the day when you're just exhausted. You want to try and ink while you're still fresh. And for information on prepping your inking brush, please check out my Art Snacks Inktober overview video. There's plenty of information over there on how to prepare your brush for first time use. Now the lovely thing about inking with a brush is you can get a wide variety of line weights very simply, but it does require a fair amount of practice to get the pressure just right. So I recommend doing some studies before you commit yourself to inking a long form project or inking something that you care deeply about. And for me, unfortunately, I find it very difficult to talk while I ink since I use controlled breathing to help me control my arm movements. So I'm going to have to pause my inking in order to talk to you guys. I do recommend that you use your breathing to help you control your inking. Also, you don't want to ink with your wrist or your fingers. You want to use your whole arm if possible. So you want to work in an area where you have a lot of space to ink if you can. If you're new to inking, the heavier line weights go sort of towards the bottoms of things or away from where the light source would be, implying a cast shadow. The lighter line weights go towards the tops of things or where the light would be. And it's perfectly okay to rotate your canvas around a lot in order to get the best angle for inking. Don't try to force your arm and your wrist to do things that feel unnatural. Just go ahead and move your paper. inking on a coated paper such as this, you do want to allow your inks to dry for 24 hours before you erase. That'll help prevent ghosting. Ghosting is when your eraser lifts away a lot of your ink and leaves like a gray ghosted image. You can wait as little as 1 hour, but waiting at least 1 hour is recommended, with 24 being the most recommended. Alright guys, so other than the face, we're just about done, and I'm going to switch over to the 0 because it's apparent to me that I am having some difficulty with the 1 today. My line weights are all very heavy, and usually I'm capable of much finer line work than that, and they're a little bit blobby and uneven. You can definitely tell I am inking in suboptimal inking environment. My drafting table is far too crowded, and I really haven't given myself enough room to work. So I really do encourage you guys to make as much room as you can to ink. Don't try to force yourself into a tiny confined space. Try to give yourself the best inking situation you can. I used to ink sitting on the floor hunched over. It was horrible. I really should not have been doing that at all, but I didn't really have a good table set up to ink at. Now I have a much better table set up to ink at. I just need to clean it. So do try to, if you're doing brush inking, do try to have a table. Do try to make sure that you have good lighting, that you have room to work. So we're switching over to the 0, which is what I normally ink with anyway. I don't know why I grabbed a 1. And on this Denica notebook, my hand is resting off of the edge. As you can see, it creates a point for wobbling. That is not good. You do not want that. In normal circumstances, I would go ahead and cut the page out of the book so my hand can rest flat. But I left it in for demonstration purposes so you guys could see that wobbling, and so it would, you know, serve as a better example for why you should cut things like that out of the books to make it easier for you to work. Sometimes it's easier for me to explain why you should do something by not doing it and showing you guys the failure. Alright guys, so I need to let this dry for 24 hours before I can come in with Copic markers and start coloring. And by allowing it to dry for 24 hours, you are ensuring that your ink is Copic proof. It is cured fully. And since I'm really dissatisfied with her legs, I'm going to go ahead and fill them in. So I will zoom out. And normally, if you're rendering with markers, you don't really want a whole lot of heavy spot blacks because that's stuff you can handle with the marker and build up better form. But, you know, that's okay. It isn't exactly a hard and fast rule. It's just more of a aesthetic suggestion. toe fills are pretty simple and they're very easily handled with a brush. And if you are going to make any corrections, I recommend you hold off until the very end. Some of these things can be sort of optically corrected using the markers to sort of just change how you perceive the shape. Others will need to be corrected using whiteout or correctional fluid, but if you put those down now, it'll be very apparent when you go over it with marker. So it's really just wait until the very end. Oh, see, like I just dabbed over there by accident because I'm trying to ink over the spiral. My hand just went boop, which is why you want to, if you're inking in a notebook and or a sketchbook and it's a little one like this, you want to just try and go ahead and remove it because the spiral and the edges are going to get in the way and they're going to make it difficult for you to do what you need to do. Anyway, there's our inks. I will see you guys again in 24 hours when we go over this with markers, and hopefully I can show you guys how to correct some things. That was a very basic brush inking tutorial for inking your characters. I look forward to seeing you guys again really soon. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, if you found it useful, if you found it inspiring, please do me a huge favor and leave a like. That lets YouTube know that you like my stuff. If you really liked it, please take a moment to share it with your friends via the social network buttons below. That also helps me out a lot, and it introduces new people not only to my work, but how awesome you are as a friend for sharing helpful resources. If you guys are working on Inktober stuff and you have an Instagram, why don't you go ahead and link me in your comments below. I would love to see what you guys are working on. I always love following new artists, and feel free to add me back as well. Let's see, what else? Oh, one more thing. Sorry. It's been a day. If you would like to help fund future content like this, head on over to the Patreon for information on how to join the community. You guys financially funding content like this helps me out a lot because it can get expensive and it does take time to sit down and do it, or to prep for it, research for it, order the materials, and edit it. So your financial support really helps make these sort of things possible, and it makes it easier for me to make the time to do them. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you when I can. Ideally, I want to get back to you guys before October, if you guys message me before October, of course. And that way, I can help you out before Inktober starts, so you guys can start off on the right foot. I'm Becca Hilburn from Nata Soup Studio. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you again really soon. Oh wait, why am I signing out? I'm gonna do marker stuff.